Hi everyone and welcome to the Power 365 show. It's not often we venture off to the Isle of Wight, but our next guest, Alistair Dickinson, happens to be a local resident and CEO of MyCRM, a long-standing ISV in the space. We find out more about island life, challenges of working with small, medium-sized businesses, and how ISVs can adapt to an ever-changing marketplace. For full show notes, please check out nz365guide.com/79. Now, let's get the conversation started. Alistair, welcome to the Power 365 show.
Good morning, Mark, and thanks for inviting me. It's good to finally catch up with you.
Yeah, totally. After our little mishaps there last week, we're finally on air. And we're going to talk about all things ISV. You've got a very successful ISV that has been running for some time. But before we get into that, Alistair, can you tell us a bit about your journey and your career so far and what brought you to this place?
Yeah, absolutely. My backstory is probably a little bit different to everybody else's because when I started my career, my working career, I had absolutely no interest in IT, computers, business, all of the things that I'm doing today. And I wanted to be a lighting engineer. I wanted to go and do big concerts. But I had a big accident when I was 20, big industrial accident, and that meant I had to completely retrain. And I went to college for the first time, and they found out that actually this computer stuff was pretty easy. I could do this, and it was only in 2 or 3 years in that I realized that software engineering was something that I was good at, and not that everybody was good at. So you fast forward all of that, and I worked for a software company after doing my graduation. And that company got bought by Onyx Software, which was obviously a CRM provider. Then Microsoft entered the space later on, and the rest is history. Really, we started building solutions right back with CRM3, which were obviously a lot more complicated then because you didn't have the framework and you didn't have solutions. But in 2009, I decided to actually do it properly, set up the company, which is now MyCRM. We've been running for 10 years, and actually focus on becoming an ISV properly, where it's not just building the solutions, but it was the marketing and the sales and the structure and the support is so important if you're going to sell products worldwide.
Excellent. So just give me a bit of reference. Where do you live in the world? Where does your business run from? Just for context.
Yeah, absolutely. So I live on the Isle of Wight, and the business and the office is based on the Isle of Wight. Now, this is a small island off the south coast. It's, land mass is about, 26 miles across both ways, and its population is about 110,000.
Wow.
So it's not the busiest place in the world, and I think landmass is about the same size as sort of London. So if you compare that to population, but it's very rural. It is going through a transformation at the moment, bringing businesses to the island. We're rolling out the local telecom provider is rolling out a gigabit network, which is everybody's going to have gigabit broadband directly to their homes and to their businesses. And it's not shared. So it's a massive investment that's obviously funded by government and all of those kind of things. I met my wife and she lived on the island, and I had the choice of either moving to the island or her moving to me. And I lived in the middle of Thames Valley. I decided that the island was probably a better place.
Wow. So just on that internet, are they going to give you fibre to the door?
It's fibre to the door.
Awesome.
But it's unique fibre as well. Every building has its own fibre connection.
Yep. Yeah. And this is a crazy thing in New Zealand, and I was in very rural New Zealand, 2 hours north of the main city, Auckland, in this place called Whangarei, and yet I could have fibre right to my door, which meant I had this, gigabit for years. And then I come to London and I'm expecting just amazing, a
10
fibre.
gigabit, yeah.
And I've got like 300, but it stops at a box halfway down the street, and then they do copper the last mile. And oh my gosh, which means it's shared, right? Which means you don't have, quality of service or anything.
Absolutely. The island has had fibre for a little while, but it's been shared fibre. So It's the fibre runs, and then you copper it to the properties.
Yeah.
But they're actually running 3 fibre cables to each property. They don't know what they're going to use the other 2 for yet, but they're putting them in.
Redundancy, right? Brilliant idea. Brilliant idea. So the Isle of Wight, and I take it that's under the UK jurisdiction. I know very little about it.
So it's quite interesting actually, because it's yes, it is under UK jurisdiction, but obviously it's not part of Great Britain, because it's an island off England, and the way the structure of Great Britain works, and that goes into history. But it's we are part of the UK. We're not a tax haven, unfortunately.
The question had run through my mind. Isn't there another one between Ireland and the UK that is partly a tax haven?
So you've got Jersey and Guernsey, obviously, and I'm not sure about the Scilly Isles, about how that is structured. And then obviously, a lot of people on the Isle of Wight would like it to be a tax haven. I think some of them would like to have their own currency, but let's get through Brexit first, huh?
Yeah. And I think currencies are going to be fast disappearing, as in the currency will exist. I think the concept of paper money needs to disappear quickly.
Yeah, I just don't do that anyway.
Same.
Tap and go.
So tell me about your current focus. What are you working on right now at the moment?
So we're working on a number of things. Obviously, there's a brand new platform coming, which is all around geocoding, and which is called Maptimize. But our primary Dynamics 365 focus is looking how we can take some of the new the new infrastructure with 365 and wrap that up, because we've got 6 very successful products at the moment. Planner and maps and those kind of things, and we've got customers in 23 countries.
Wow!
So it's a matter of let's look at the unified applications and see what we can do with those. What can we do with Power Apps? How can we improve it? Because we're, as an ISV, and one of the things that's made us successful, I think, is the fact that we've never tried to copy what anyone else is doing.
Yeah.
We always try and innovate and come up with something.
Fantastic.
And to be honest, we've thrown more product away than we've released.
Yep. Yeah.
Because we try things and think, it's just never going to work. So we didn't, where we first started, we obviously did email marketing, and then everybody else jumped on that bandwagon. So we didn't really follow that through. So our focus is really looking at, what does Power Apps mean? What does Unified mean? What does Power BI mean? Can we build solutions that bring the whole thing together? We're also focusing on building the team. We're currently 12 at the moment. We want to get to 24. So we're going through a sort of an 18-month to 2-year growth plan, and I've taken another floor at the offices to do that, or I've nearly taken that floor. I'm in process of doing that. So that's my focus at the moment, and writing, as you know, I'm self-published, so that's kind of one of my sort of, if I'm not doing everything else, I'm writing.
Wow, excellent. So let's just one thing I want to drill into there. You're saying you got a team of 12, growing it to 24, and I take it you're housing them, if you like, all in a single physical location. Have you considered using remote resources a bit more like the there was a crowd, 37 Signals. I think they got 9 staff around the world. No one's in the same office, and they pull over $1 billion it's $1 billion business now. Yeah. And they've gone for a very distributed model, and the one of the owners have written quite a few books even on how that model's been so effective, and if you like, not scaling to so large it becomes unwieldy, but keeping the team small and stuff. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's upsides and downsides of that model. The reason we're going for the typical in the same space, that we can all bounce ideas and we can whiteboard, and this isn't, if you came to the offices, it's very fun. There's lots of kind of whiteboarding and the throwing of fluffy toys and stuff. It really is very creative. But we're also working with the local council, and this comes back to the regeneration of the Isle of Wight. I'm kind of leading on the digital strategy for the Isle of Wight as well.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And it's about creating jobs. It's about having structure here that our next, because we're, as an island, we miss our middle generation. So the 18-year-olds go to university and they never come back until they're about 45, 50. And there's that whole gap of kind of industry and commerce, and that's what the island's trying to get back. And, you know, we've made a commitment to our, you know, to the council, to the island, to ourselves, that we're actually going to grow a business here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think when we get to sort of 24, we then may look at a more distributed model. Yep. But I would definitely keep a base here.
I like it. I like it. I like it that you got a clear understanding of why you're doing it and where you're going with it. I think that's really important.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to drill into your Dynamics 365, or really Dynamics back in the day and your ISV experience. What was your journey to deciding, you know, the position that we're going to take in market is to produce applications, now having, you know, the 6 apps in market across 23 countries. What was that journey over the last 10 years for you?
So it was an interesting journey. I always knew that there was room in the market to be an ISV, and this comes back from my CRM time with Onyx as well, and looking at other solutions. You know, obviously Dynamics is front and center now for us, but there was always things missing, and there was always, you could look at it and say, well, actually, knowing how to run a business and knowing how to kind of help people, there was always gaps that sort of said, you know, we can build solutions that achieve things. And we didn't want to be a kind of development consultancy that just did one-time solutions. We thought, well, we'll build things and we'll kind of go to market. Now, the first 3 years was really hard work. It was really bumpy. And that means that, you know, we were pretty much winging it. You know, we were building solutions off the back of sales. The first iteration of the download center probably wasn't the prettiest thing. But after 3 years, we stabilized. We, you know, managed to store cash and all of those kind of things, and then build the next 2 years, and then the next 2 years, and then the next 2 years. And we do it in an iteration of 2 years, and we're now going into that next 2-year cycle.
Nice. So you raised some interesting things there around that first 3 years being hard yakka, and that you were led by customers buying something that you then kind of built behind. Did I get that right? We did do. There was a bit of advanced marketing, shall we say? Yeah. No. As in, I've just been reading the Lean Startup, and they highly recommend that you do that.
Yeah,
you know,
I think
build what your customers want type thing.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft came to us, you know, back in sort of 2010, I think. Well, someone from the Bing team said, "Oh, could you build a solution for maps?" And we said, "Yeah, of course we could build a solution for maps." You know, I think they were asking other people as well. It wasn't just, you know, it wasn't just us, because there was a drive to kind of integrate, you know, some sort of mapping into Dynamics. And we sort of launched the marketing for that 9 months before it was complete. But by the time we did go with it, that was our first subscription product. And that helped hugely, you know, because it was low cost, either on a monthly or annual basis. And up to that point, we had built things, but, you know, tried to maximize revenue. And I think when Power Objects started launching their solutions at a low dollar price.
Exactly. Well, it was $1 per app or something?
Yeah, $2. Then we came in at that and sort of said, well, actually, we can do subscriptions too. We can do, fixed price, that sort of model. And the software industry has changed. Everybody's now expecting services on demand. They're expecting lots more free stuff. Go back 15 years when software, you'd build a piece of software and it'd be tens of thousands of pounds. Now people expect it for a few quid. And it's a different model. So we've had to cope with that as well. And we've obviously had to cope with all of the changes of Dynamics as it's gone through its iterations.
So, totally.
Which has been kind of great fun, especially when it's online and you'll get an update that you didn't know that was coming. And it breaks all your stuff, and you're scrabbling around. But, part of the ecosystem of the My CRM framework and the license management things it is tracking for those errors, so we get them before the customer's reporting them.
Yeah. That's brilliant. But it's a frustration I've heard from other ISVs as well, as not getting notified. Or, I mean, just recently, Scott Duro has a tool called the Ribbon Workbench, and there was an update run in the system that broke his tool, where his tool was absolutely not in the wrong, if you like, whether they hadn't done regression testing, etc. But he fielded something like 500 support requests for something that he had no control over. Yeah. Very difficult.
It is, yeah. And you'll get other things as well. I mean, before Microsoft was obviously doing the kind of online cloud type model, we were predominantly working in the space of helping people do managed services and host, and things would break and you had no control. There'd be a new release of the Outlook connector or something, and you just had no control over it whatsoever. And I remember one time, the Internet Explorer would disconnect the Outlook connector from Dynamics.
Yeah,
because there'd been an update to Internet Explorer.
Which was I do remember those challenges. So what was the most challenging aspect of those first 3 years of you becoming that ISV?
So my background is a software engineer. That's what I studied. That's what I did. So one of the biggest challenges for me was to learn how to engage with customers. Although I'd been a consultant, and implemented systems, I hadn't done marketing. I hadn't done, and I was still writing in quite a technical language. So the big personal challenge for me was to try and get across the benefit of our solutions. And that took a while, but, learning, reading, all of those kind of things, self-development, and you get there, you kind of think, well, this is okay. This is, and you build up a kind of loyal customer base, and they like engaging with you, because I think one of the key things about a customer engaging with an ISV is they're not always engaging in the product, they're engaging with the company.
Yeah, exactly.
And they want to know that they can send you an email and they get a response, or they can ring you up and say hi, or they can Skype you, and that you are available. You are not just lost in the machine somewhere.
Yeah. In one of your blog posts, you wrote about having a bumpy start. Can you explain that in a bit more detail?
Yeah, absolutely. Money is always, I think there's two ways to start a business, and there's either you can do it off profit and loss, and you can try and build a development team and pay their salaries and try and make the sales, or you can get a level of investor funding. And say, this is my big idea, I'll take some money. Now, investor funding isn't in the UK like it is in the US, but then the growth companies aren't quite there yet, but it is beginning to change. So we chose not to go the investor funded route. I literally scraped together sort of what monies I had and said, we're going to go for this. And so, some months it was difficult financially, but we kind of got there. We run the business as we have no credit.
I love it.
So we have no overdrafts, no loans. We owe nobody nothing. At the end of the month, everybody gets paid, and what's left over. Now, that model, some people may look at that and think, how do you manage that? Why would you do that? Go and get some investment. Go and get. You've got some great ideas. We have, but the foundation that we built is so solid that we can now grow on that. And I think we're now in that position to say, or maybe, especially with new platforms and the change in the software industry, I think we've got that opportunity to do that now. But there was a few sleepless nights.
I can understand that, but that's brilliant. So you're really a bootstrap story that you've funded your own way to where you've got this at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, no, that's good. So tell me about challenges. What challenges did you kind of set out to solve? And has the challenges changed over time in relationship to who your customer base is?
The challenges we set out to solve in the first place, to make the adoption of CRM4 easier. So my backstory, my background had been implementing kind of Onyx and things. And, typically that was a long project, and lots of configuration, and it wasn't the easiest thing to do. So our view was, let's try and, with my experience and bringing the development team in, could we take Dynamics at version 4 and make it easier to use? And that was all we were trying to solve. So, the eCampaign was first, one of the first products, and the Bing Maps integration we did, and what is now the PDF Creator, which was right at the start was multiple products. We had PDF for order and PDF for quote and things like that. And it was just reducing clicks. It was about, looking at it from a salesperson and saying, I want to be able to do a quote and quickly send it to a customer. I want to be able to quickly blast out an email campaign to a customer. So that was the challenge. That was and we solved that. But there were obviously limitations. If you look at the kind of technology stack then and the technology stack now, it's very different. And I think there's huge opportunity going forward for software and for mobile and for ISVs and all of that kind of thing. So we can now solve more challenges. And I think the future looks more like consumption of services and consumption of data, and less of building applications that record data, because everybody's putting an API online, everybody's putting a service online. If you want to consume customer data, you can get that on a subscription, right? And you can market to that as long as you're GDPR compliant. But the early challenge was, can we help businesses? Now we look at it and say, right, okay, we still want to help businesses. We want to get to fast deployments. These, and we predominantly, work with organizations that are sort of 10 to 50 employees. They're the kind of people that are buying our products. They're not the enterprise organizations that are having a bespoke sort of rollout. The big consultancies do those, and they do them very well. But we will have people come to us and say, how do I make this problem go away? And that's our kind of focus right now.
Yeah, interesting. So what have you found effective in the way you sell and market your solution? If you're going after a segment of 10 to 50 in size, that's you've obviously decided on a segment of market that you're targeting. How did you then go out and find the customers, or did they find you? How did you market your, how did you market the benefits of your solution in such a way that attracted, those people from 23 countries around the world?
Yeah, so right at the start, it was all about kind of email marketing. Email marketing was very hot. There weren't that many great solutions for marketing to customers. You could buy data relatively cheaply, and tracking responses was a big thing. So that's really what we did. We went to a few trade shows. We kind of launched the brand. We went to a lot of Microsoft conferences, and just kept punching people until they bought stuff.
Yeah. So just on that, you obviously tried a range of things.
Yeah.
If you were spending your precious marketing dollars today, out of Microsoft trade shows, let's say digital marketing in any of its forms. So whether let's separate them out. Let's say social media marketing. Let's say your website, and let's say mixed media, whether it be podcasting, writing books, and or targeting via email. Where would you be spending your money these days?
Social.
Wow, interesting. Why? Tell me why. This is intriguing.
Global reach, really.
Okay.
So we still do email marketing. We've got an email list of about 15,000. But we tend to find that if you can't really sell over email anymore.
No.
You can do awareness, and you can tell a nice story, and you can invite people to things. And people will engage with that. But to say, hey, hi, John, do you want to buy some stuff? Stuff is good.
Not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It's a dead medium for that. And that's why we're not really going to go back to launching an email tool. So, I think the future of marketing for social is great because it's a bit like standing in a football stadium and just shouting and hoping somebody hears you.
Yeah.
And Facebook is probably one of the biggest, although it's a social media platform, it's probably one of the biggest live business type platforms for marketing at the moment. And it's cost effective. You can spend not a huge amount of money and get some awareness. Now, when we're doing product launch, we go back to kind of online ads. So, your typical Google ads and Google banners. And we also do media ads. And I don't know if you've seen these, but these are the things that tag onto YouTube videos.
Yes, yeah.
So you can tag the front or tag the back and you pay per watch and things like that. All of that kind of marketing has become very, very cost effective because it's all about volume. And I think the kind of the YouTubes and those realize that actually they want to get a huge amount of volume so it gets sold quite cheaply. And even, kind of podcasting or live broadcasting, that's coming into its own now. Especially live broadcast. A lot of social media marketers are talking about doing live broadcast. It can be raw. It needs to be uncut. And the reason the research has been done, I can't sort of guarantee this research in any way whatsoever. But as technology has taken over our lives, and because we're more consumed by our mobile devices, we're looking for human interaction. And so we like to watch things that look real, that aren't polished, that aren't, those kind of things. And so one of the strategies that we're doing as a company, we're going to start doing more live broadcasts. We did some testing last year, and the reach was 4 or 5 times as much as the standard post.
Yeah, fantastic.
So that's where I'd be looking right now. Go to conferences if you want to learn something. If there's certain people you want to meet, go to trade shows. If again, same reason, there's an actual reason, but people tend not to buy at trade shows. They tend to just engage with you on a human level, and that's really good. So I would probably be spending 80% of our budget in the kind of social online space, but we are trying to reach all of the countries. So it's a trade show in London isn't really going to, help me sell a product in Brazil or something, So.
Yeah. So intriguing. I think we could spend a lot more time in this area alone, and you've confirmed what. Yeah. I believe for a while that social, and even like a lot of businesses, because they feel they're business to business focused, they think that Facebook is not a, for them, because it's the targeting that it gives you is just mind-blowingly powerful.
Yeah, same with Twitter as well, really.
Yeah.
There are a couple of gotchas on Twitter, but as I said, we could do a whole session on that.
Yeah. Excellent. So what about raising capital? Have you thought about how you would go about that if you wanted to scale something quickly, or...
So
we
have talked to a number of different types of investors, from institutional to standard capital to standard sort of funding angels and those kind of things. And a lot of the feedback I get is, "Well, go and build it first." Yeah. Give me proof of concept. I've got a friend that's running a sort of a big ISV business, and he just went with the concept to the investor, and they funded him. About £5 million worth of investment, but they own 70% of his business. And we're very good at building, and we've got a really good team. So I think our model is very much, we're going to build something. We're going to build Maximize, and we're going to build some of the new unified apps that we're working on for 365. And then we're going to maybe, depending how it all goes and how it looks, look to kind of investors to say, how do we take this up now? Because obviously the new platform doesn't just work for Dynamics; it works for all of them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's very cool. How did you address market segmentation?
We tend not to really. We tend to just more avoid certain things. So we the funnel is quite wide. We do it deliberately, and we will write posts about different industries, how they could use our product. So if you took sort of, our activity planner, then it's like, if you're working in this industry, you could use this to do X. So we give business case. And that's how we go. So we don't actually just focus on certain sectors.
Okay. Tell me about your Microsoft partnership or relationship. What has it meant to you? How is it? Has it been an enabler? I hear from a lot of ISVs there's been a lack of consistency, if you like, in Microsoft's ISV story over the years. I mean, just recently they cancelled the ISV competency. They sunset it after just inventing it, and they sunset it without what's next. And I hear a lot of complaints from people going, why do Microsoft keep killing something before they're telling you where you're to pivot to based on where they're going? But, yet again, they've done it. They do it quite often these days with the actual functionality in Dynamics 365 as well as the Power Platform. How's that relationship been with you, and what does it mean to you? And let's take the last 10 years.
So the last 10 years. So right at the start, the first couple of years was absolutely great. We were kind of startup. We were. There was no really online 365, so there was very much, especially in the UK. I know there's CRM Online kind of US stateside, but sorry, just bear with me. So the first 2 years, there was kind of lots of activity, lots of noise. We had an account manager at Microsoft. We had some good contacts. Obviously, if Rubin, you know Rubin.
Rubin Krupner?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I used to work with him.
I used to work with him at Onyx.
Yeah. Wow, I did not know that.
And I rented him a room when he first came over from Australia.
Wow. That's incredible.
So yeah, we were buds.
Yeah, very cool.
Long time back. So, I could, I used to drop him notes and we used to communicate. I used to know kind of quite a few people at sort of Microsoft, but a lot of those moved on.
Absolutely.
Moved
totally
on
changed.
with their careers, and that's absolutely fine. But we grew as well, and we started building a customer base, and we found our feet. So the kind of partner program wasn't that important. We stayed with it, and we get our the benefits of that. But it wasn't something that, a customer would come to us and say, oh, we want to buy your, map integration, or we want to buy your PDF integration for, $1,000. And by the way, are you a gold certified partner? The question was never asked. So we kept certified, we kept up to date. We're fairly kind of cutting edge on our training and things. So it really hasn't been too much of a focus. It's only really in the last kind of 2 years we've put a little bit more effort into that, and we were going to issue some of our products onto outsource. That didn't work out for us for whatever reason. And we could probably have a session on that as well.
I can read between the lines. Yes.
Yeah. The problem was we had built an ecosystem. We had built, we didn't just build a product. We built a whole support framework for those products, and we would have had to undo that. We would have had to kind of rewrite for AppSource. So that's fine. It's great for the what I would call software publishers, not ISVs.
Gotcha. Hey, this. Hang on, let me just unpack that. What do you mean by a software publisher as opposed to an ISV? Right.
So a traditional ISV is a company that is kind of structured with its development team. It has its product. It has its roadmap. It has longevity, but it also has its support, its sales, its marketing. It is a structured business, and customers engaging with that company are engaging with that company. And I think you've got, as an ISV, I think the clue's in the name. It's independent, and you're not asking anybody to sell your product for you. You're sort of saying, I am the base, and I will find a distribution model, and I will find a social channel, and I will find partners that want to partner with us. But it's not white labeled. It's pretty. it's a bit like, if you look at Click Dimensions, you're a Click Dimensions partner and you sell Click Dimensions and that's it. They're a proper ISV that offers a service.
Exactly.
A software publisher is usually a much smaller group that comes up with a great idea and says, oh, I'll make a thing, and has no strategy for marketing, has no approach to sales, and sort of says, hey, I want someone to sell this for me. And that's what I would see as a software publisher. It's a great solution, and there's plenty of them out there, and some software publishers do transition to be ISVs, and but it's more likely that the smaller ones, they come, they go, the people move on, a product sticks around for a few years because it was a good idea, but just doesn't get the backing, doesn't get the traction, doesn't make the money that they think it's going to make, and people move on and products get retired.
Yeah.
So I would see that as a distinction. I think it's very difficult to sort of say, oh, you're all ISVs, and it's just, well, actually, no, we're not. And I think that has been a mistake of Microsoft. They've kind of just bundled us all together and said, you've got some development tools, that's great, off you go, you're an ISV. And I don't think that's the case. I think there needs to be a little kind of bit more thought around that. And I've got some idea. I can share those ideas with you if you want. But from an ISV point of view, having to kind of go through listing your products and changing your products to resell somewhere else is probably something that's not going to happen. And I think the pre-runner to outsourced, which I think was Pinpoint, or was it Pinpoint?
Yeah, Pinpoint, and there was the Dynamics Marketplace with two different environments back in the day, right?
Yeah. So I think if you can just list it as a directory listing for an ISV, that's fine. It's minimal effort. Here's a link to my website. We've got an ecosystem. We'll support you. From a publisher point of view, they obviously need a lot more and a lot more structure. And I think there needs to be that sort of approach. And I think with software publishers, if Microsoft could say, okay, what we're going to structure AppSource in a certain way that there's uniformity of what's built, and you base it on these templates and you base it on this structure. So ideally, I'd like to see a kind of Visual Studio 365 that has all of the kind of building blocks for taking the Power Platform to the next level, because Power Platforms and RAD are great, but there's always the next step, and I think that's where your software publisher comes in and says, actually, I'm going to start developing bits on top of these that you can utilize. And then that could be published, and that could be very much the same model as online publishers use for books. And I know you're going to say a software component isn't a book, but actually, if you ever publish a book, it goes through a huge amount of testing to make sure it's valid. That you don't just publish something with loads of blank pages in. So I think there could be some structure there that sort of says, I'm posting from my Visual Studio 365, the solution gets tested, but the software publisher then only gets a percentage of the revenue. Yeah. And that's how Microsoft could monetize that investment into an ISV kind of framework.
Yeah, they're definitely heading that way. As in, I saw a roadmap just put up on Docs the other day, which is quite clear they're going to a commerce-based platform with it. It's nice to see. Yes, that's their aspiration, but as you say, will be our third or fourth marketplace. Yeah. And if history is an indicator of future success, at the moment I'm not holding my breath, and just because I know that headcount changes, priorities change, and what was one thing one day is not something the next type thing. So yeah. Let's see what happens. But do you have any advice to startup ISVs and recommendations of how they should engage with Microsoft?
Again, it depends. It depends what you want as a business. If you're starting up, if you're looking just to build a solution and then engage with the partner channel and engage with Microsoft, then to engage with kind of Microsoft at a DevOps level or a Dynamics level, you're going to have to follow that partner program. and you're going to have to take the qualifications, and you're going to have to kind of get your head above the parapet of all the other partners. And obviously, some partners are gold, inner circle, all of those kind of things, and some aren't. So that can be a challenge, but I guess that's about perseverance and going to the events and going talking to people like we did at the start. Really, just said, "Hi, we're here. This is what we're doing. It's great. It's going to be fantastic," and you will get some traction because account managers go to the events. They're looking for a next opportunity, the next big thing. Partners are looking for something to sell. What makes them different? How can they take a couple of products and then make that an offering to a customer in the end? So for kind of young kind of startup ISV type software publisher, very much get involved, go and meet the people, get hold of the partner list, which is kind of freely available for a few $100s, and work that magic really. You're going to have to put a lot of time into kind of building those relationships. I would seriously recommend not to just build a product, spend all your money doing that, and then go, ta-da, here it is.
Totally.
Because it'll be tumbleweed time. You won't have any relationships, and you're just another product provider. So definitely have someone in the organization that's doing that kind of trawling for relationship and building those engagements.
Yeah. So just unpacking that a bit, you talked about getting the partner list, which I assuming you're referring to SIs, system integrators that are implementing Dynamics. Then what have you found effective in how you engage with that partner ecosystem? Because that's one I've strongly come from. I've played on both sides. I've had an ISV, and I've also had successful partner SI practices. But one of the things I noticed is that when it comes to implementing an ISV, you would do it based on a request from a customer that had a need that the ISV solution absolutely fitted, which would be a better way of doing it than trying to build it yourself. In other words, buy off the shelf rather than. But the problem is that, as an ISV, if you went to a partner and said, listen, I've got this amazing product, it's not like they're going to turn around and take your amazing product to market, because their primary product is, their next SI deal, services. That's where their money is. Absolutely. Rather than the incremental gains that they can make off, some margin clip on an ISV solution maybe. Yeah. So how do you engage that Microsoft partner channel? Introduction, we originally we started with kind of email. We're here, we're this, we can offer you great reseller and all of those kind of stuff. Find yourself the ones that are more distributed than that sort of, will actually say, well, actually, I've got a customer base and I can market that to them. Yep. That see the kind of bigger picture. You're absolutely right. Don't try and get in. The ones that are predominantly just service focused is going to be a challenge. You're looking for, salespeople want commission and they want to sell things. And if they've got reasonable sized deals that they can, as long as there's 100% trust that you're not going to engage with that customer, then they'll happily sell your product in. We've kind of written it into side letters and we've written it into contracts that we definitely don't engage with their customer base. And we've built relationships, and those relationships only come after the first, second, third, 10th sale of your product, where an SI has put your product in, the customers absolutely loved it, and they said, oh, this is really good, and they go, oh yeah, we'll go back and get some more of that. This works, makes us a little bit different. And as an ISV, we've always focused on the things that aren't just generic bits of code. All right, we've got a number solution. It's a little bit different to everybody else's, but we only did that because we kind of probably needed one. It wasn't a sort of a heavy hitter for us, but the other things, the primary products are very much, not really available from other sources.
So that relationship building with partners, is a challenge because a lot of the partners see you as competition.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just sort of, if you can develop a solution, you can do services. I think you've just got to be, make everybody very aware that you don't have a resource of 200 people, and you're going to clean up in the market. You have limited resource, you have a budget to build products, and this is the roadmap. Just as I've discussed with you today, really, we have a direction of travel, and you can come with us or not.
Yeah. Listen, this has been amazing, and I've got heaps more questions, but we're running out of time. So
Sure.
I'm gonna move on to some quick fire.
Yeah.
And I've definitely made some notes about some other things I'd like to come back to you on. But just a quick fire questions now to wrap up. What's the one book you would recommend to people, and why?
So obviously, I'd recommend my book.
Yep. What's your book?
Which is the Essential Business Guide to GDPR. Because I think the approach that was taken to GDPR, especially in Europe and the UK, is very much one of fear factor, and one of very much, you can never use your data again. It's going to be business ending. Everybody's going to be fined.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the purpose of it. Data protection is about responsibility and looking after data.
Yeah. It's like the Y2K story all over again, right? The sky is falling almost.
Yeah, not really, because Y2K was fixed by spending billions of pounds.
Yeah.
It's just that people don't remember that. Every IT manager remembers it, but I think there was a lot of you must buy this piece of hardware for GDPR and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
That aside, if you're setting up a kind of business and you want some reading on kind of social media marketing and those kind of books, I would definitely recommend the I think it's David Scott Meerman books. I don't know if you've come across those. David Meerman Scott.
Okay.
So I've written a note here. He does. He's renowned in social media marketing, PR, vlogging, blogging, all of that kind of stuff, and how that fits into a business. And he's written various iterations and keeps them up to date. And it does give you things to think about. I mean, I think it's a very good kind of insight of sort of like saying, oh, actually, I could do that, and I could do it quite cost effectively, and it's very easy to read as well.
Excellent. I've noted those down, and we'll make sure we link to them in the show notes, and so people can download them if they want. Tell me, what is a passion that you have that you really share with people?
So I even after 20 years, I still love technology. I love the way technology changes. Mm-hmm. I love what the next big thing is. I never get bored of it. If I share it with people, they usually get bored of me.
Yeah.
But it's I kind of love that. I love finding out what the next thing is. I like the idea that you can. I think the real passion in business is that you can create something quite small, and then give that to a customer, and then they take that and they flourish with it. Yeah. And then we helped out a customer that was in a bit of a mess. Everything was in Excel, and we sort of sorted them out and gave them some products to go on with. And their business grew from sort of 200,000 to 600,000 over a period of a year, just through organisation. I think that passion, that's just like, actually you have the power to do quite a lot here with technology, but one thing I'm obviously very against is technology for the sake of technology. Yeah. It has to serve a purpose.
I like it. Who do you recommend as a guest for this podcast in the future, kind of based on that the ISV ecosystem?
From an ISO, I'd happy come and do it again in about 18 months' time.
Nice.
And I will. We can share what's changed.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know what Ruben's up to these days. So
I just had him on. He's just been on the podcast about 4 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. I've not listened to that one.
Yeah, he's based in London now,
right.
And out of London, and he runs the Power Platform Emerging Markets program.
Right.
For Microsoft.
Excellent. So I don't really know. There's quite a few good ISVs.
Who do you see as the better ones in market?
So obviously, Power Objects have made good headway, and we've worked with them in the past, and we'll happily use their, ISV to ISV. We'll use their solutions if we haven't got one. Click Dimensions, we implement there. We've helped and worked with their solutions. There are kind of, there's obviously the guys over in Austria with the documents.
Serum add-ons,
Serum add-ons, yeah. But I guess it's the ones that have been around for a little while that have been bumped and bruised along the way. We all tell the same story, I think, which is quite good. But it's quite exciting to see where Microsoft is going with the Power Platform. I was listening to that podcast, and how RAD has been reintroduced as a concept, which is quite nice. When I say RAD, I mean the Rapid Application Development.
Yeah. Awesome. Alistair, it's been so good to have you on the show. Before you go, if people want to connect with you online, where can they find you? I'm
all over the place. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. My CRM has got pages on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, where you can't miss us. Just search for My CRM Group.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you want to chat about your ISV, please check out powerisv.com. That's powerisv.com, and chat to us about what you would like to do, and kind of glean from us our experiences of being ISVs in the space for a very long time. Full show notes can be found at nz365guide.com/79. Until next time.